doing all that, they put me into service full blown. Once I understood the mechanics of it, I became a full-time service mechanic. And then I progressed from there. I was, again, so good at the communication aspect, they put me into full in-home sales for replacement of air conditioning systems. Even as a technician, I remember seeing some manufacturer reps come in from time to time, and they would do their little pitch, or whatever, and trainings and stuff on product. And I always kind of thought, man, that'd be a pretty cool job.
Welcome, everyone. I'm honored to introduce our guest today, who is Chris Kraft. Chris Kraft is a manufacturer's representative with Target Agency in Florida. Welcome, Chris.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Today, Chris and I are going to have a conversation on selling in the home to homeowners, specifically indoor air quality enhancements. And really, we want to drill down to, Chris had some great ideas when I saw him a couple months back about how to start the indoor air quality conversation. As many of you are out there in the field, you're there, you're in a home for various reasons, right? It could be a sales call, it could be a service call, installation, but you might notice something that you want to bring to their attention, or maybe there's nothing, but you still want to call to mind, the potential for the air they breathe could be harmful. So Chris, before we get into all that though, tell us a little bit about your background. How did you get into the trade?
Yeah, so I come from Ohio. I grew up in Ohio and wanted some opportunity, but where I grew up in the cornfields, there wasn't a whole lot of opportunity. I had a friend of mine doing air conditioning work in Jacksonville, Florida, and so he convinced me to move down and got right into air conditioning pretty much right away. And I had a friend of mine that said, "Hey, come along and I'll get you a job and we can have you ride on the truck with some guys and kind of learn the trade a little bit." And so that's kind of really how it started. I did lawn care when I first moved to Florida for maybe 3 months. And I realized real quick that was not going to be a great career in Florida with 100-degree sunlight and heat. So I took my buddy's advice and got into air conditioning.
Not that you were going to sweat any less, right?
That's kind of the funny thing, is because I thought I was going to get out of the heat, right? And get out of the 100-degree heat. And then I found myself 150-degree attics. And I was like, well, I'm not in direct sunlight, but I think it's even hotter than I don't know what I was thinking, Yeah.
A lot of people don't realize we actually work in the extremes, right?
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
That's why we're called into action.
That's exactly right.
So you started in installation, I take it, or what?
Yeah. So I rode around and I did installs and I did maintenance and rode with service techs and I kind of just learned the ropes, handed wrenches to guys and learned that way. It was something that when I went in to get the job, I just said I wanted to start a career. I came in actually filthy in landscaping clothes and covered in mud and dirt. I was actually maintaining the property next door, and my buddy seen me cutting the grass and got me to come in for an interview on the spot. So they said, "Man, you're willing to come into an interview like that? You must be serious." And I
was just going to say, you're hired. Just you're hired.
That's pretty much how it happened. Yeah. They were just like, wow, I've never had a guy come in here and interview looking like this. You're willing, you're hired.
I think you made a wonderful career choice. Obviously you're here. So did you progress through the ranks and then did you end up in sales then in the in-home sales? So tell me a little bit about that. So your upbringing in the company there.
Yeah. So again, I started just kind of riding around with guys on the trucks and stuff. And I got familiarized with the mechanics of the equipment, and they had me in install for a little bit, but they realized that my potential to communicate with homeowners was strong. And because I would help them understand thermostats and stuff like that, where some of the experienced long-term installers didn't really like the communication aspect as much. So they said, "Hey, we're going to cross-train you into maintenance and service and go that route, maybe with you instead." And I was very open-minded, to that. So I went into the van and they put me out just in maintenance specifically initially, because I was only maybe 3 months into the industry at this point. But typically in maintenance, the units are not broken always. Most of the time they're not broken. But I would get out there and I would do my maintenances, and I would find a lot of times, especially in Florida, it's super humid environment. I'd find a lot of mildew and bacteria and stuff inside of equipment. So it's really kind of how I started, was getting into the maintenance side of it. And then I did eventually, after, having a lot of success presenting IAQ and doing all that, they put me into service full blown once I understood the mechanics of it. And I became a full-time service mechanic. And then I progressed from there. I was, again, so good at the communication aspect, they put me into full in-home sales for replacement of air conditioning systems. And that's where I started to really excel and did well in that area as well.
Did you have any kind of formal technical training along the way then? I'm just curious.
Not really. I mean, I did, but it was probably like 4 years into my career before they actually sent me out to, there was a spot here in Florida. I can't remember the name of it, but it was a tech trade school. And they sent me in, and they did a week-long certification, and they sent me in for that. I mean, I got EPA certified right away when I first started. Yeah. But aside from that, it was all trial and error. I learned on my own as I went.
I think that's a really important story, honestly, because there's a ton of new people coming into the trade from all walks of life, right? I mean, I'm sure you see it down there, and it's an important story for people. And I think gives hope that, you don't, even despite not having, because I grew up in the field, I never had formal technical training. I just grew, it was hard knocks, right? Learning with the wrenches, learning with the other guys I was around. And I think it's important to let our listeners know, it is possible. Like if you're looking for a career path, and you're ready to get your hand, get into it and not be afraid of anything and learning. I mean, it's lucrative, right? I mean, you can, like your story says you worked your way up to a role that you didn't start out at, right? And it went into something else. I mean, completely.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. I mean, I started in the field. I was in the field total for 10 years at Air Engineers Service Experts in Jacksonville, and had an opportunity to get on the wholesale side, became territory manager, and covered the Jacksonville, Northeast Florida market for 3 years. Had an immense amount of success in that too. And along came the target sales opportunity. It was something that I always, even as a technician, I remember seeing some manufacturer reps come in from time to time, and they would do their little pitch, or whatever, and trainings and stuff on product. And I always kind of thought, man, that'd be a pretty cool job, have that opportunity. And at it, little that I think 10 years later, that would be my experience,
And your experience that you've had, lends credibility, right? You have instant kind of credibility with a lot of the field guys, because that's where you came from. My story was a similar story too, right? And look, I mean, it's wonderful, that progression, distribution from a contractor and then going to a manufacturer's, a rep role. Is it your favorite side of the business so far?
It is.
Yeah.
I really enjoy it.
I kind of knew the answer.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, it's the communication aspect is obviously what I excel in. And that's something that, as what we do every day as a manufacturer rep, is communicate with people. But I'll tell you the part that I think I love about it the most is everybody that was a customer as a territory manager, as contractor, like that food chain I'm still active in it. So I still go back to my alma mater, if you will, to Service Experts. And I've done probably 4 or 5 contractor trainings there since I've been in this role. I go back to where I was a territory manager, and they are a big customer as well. And I do trainings with those guys. And so I really enjoy the manufacturer rep role.